Hello everyone! Microsoft has been acting weird lately. I mean the recent publication of propaganda report about evil Russians and how Microsoft is involved in the conflict between countries. It wouldn't be unusual for a US government agency, NSA or CIA, to publish such a report. But when a global IT vendor, which in theory should be more or less neutral, does this is a clear signal. It is not about business anymore. I will take a closer look at this report in the next episode of the Vulnerability Management News. But for now, let's take a look at Microsoft July Patch Tuesday. Yes, the vendor is behaving strangely, but Microsoft products need to be patched, right? At least for now. And tracking vulnerabilities is always a good thing. On July Patch Tuesday, July 12, 84 vulnerabilities were released. Between June and July Patch Tuesdays, 15 vulnerabilities were released. This gives us 99 vulnerabilities in the report. Urgent 0, critical 1, high 19, medium 78, low 1. Interestingly, in this Patch Tuesday, more than half of all vulnerabilities are elevation of privilege. CSRSS elevation of privilege. What can I say? Prioritization in vulneristics works correctly. At the top of the July Patch Tuesday list is 1 critical and actively exploited elevation of privilege in Windows CSRSS CV 2022-22-047. This vulnerability has been widely reported in the media. Client-server runtime subsystem, or CSRSS-exe, is a component of the Windows NT family of operating systems that provides the user mode side of the Win32 subsystem and is included in Windows NT 3.1 and later. Because most of the Windows 32 subsystem operations have been moved to kernel mode drivers in Windows NT 4 and later, CSRSS is mainly responsible for Win32 console handling and GUI shutdown. CSRSS runs as a user mode system service. When a user mode process calls a function involving console windows, process thread creation, or side-by-side support, instead of issuing a system call, the Win32 libraries kernel32.dll, user32.dll, gdi32.dll send an inter-process call to the CSRSS process, which does most of the actual work without compromising the kernel. So, this elevation of privilege vulnerability in CSRSS allows an attacker to execute code as system, provided they can execute other code on the target. Bugs of this type are typically paired with a code execution bug, usually a specially crafted Office or Adobe document to take over a system. These attacks often rely on macros, which is why so many were disheartened to hear Microsoft's delay in blocking all Office macros by default. Microsoft says this vulnerability has been exploited in the wild, though no further details have been shared. There is no public exploit yet. Two similar vulnerabilities in CSRSS CV 2022-22-049 and CV 2022-22-026 were also fixed, likely as a result of Microsoft's investigation into the in-the-wild exploitation of CV 2022-22-047, RPC, RCE. Remote code execution in remote procedure call runtime CV 2022-22-038. Here Microsoft has a POC exploit. This July Patch Tuesday bug could allow a remote unauthenticated attacker to exploit code on an affected system. While not specified in the bulletin, the presumption is that the code execution would occur at elevated privileges. Combine these attributes and you end up with a potentially wormable bug. Microsoft states the attack complexity is high. Additional actions by an attacker are required in order to prepare a target for successful exploitation, and an attacker would need to make repeated exploitation attempts to take advantage of this bug. But unless you are actually blocking RPC actively, you may not see these attempts. Microsoft Edge memory corruption. Between June and July Patch Tuesday, memory corruption in Microsoft Edge CV 2022-2294 was released. Heap buffer overflow in Web RTC, to be precise. Web RTC, Web Real-Time Communication, is a free and open source project providing web browsers and mobile applications with real-time communication (RTC) via Application Programming Interface (APIs). It allows audio and video communication to work inside web pages by allowing direct peer-to-peer communication, eliminating the need to install plugins or download native apps. So the vulnerability is in the Chromium open source software OSS, which is consumed by Microsoft Edge. Google is aware that an exploit for this vulnerability exists in the wild. If you are using Microsoft Edge, Chromium-based, make sure it gets updated as soon as possible. Azure Site Recovery, remote code executions, and elevation of privileges. There are also a lot of vulnerabilities in Azure Site Recovery in July Patch Tuesday, both elevation of privileges and remote code executions, and quite a few with non-public exploits of the POC maturity level. According to the description, Site Recovery is a native disaster recovery as a service, DRaaS. It would seem that this should be patched by Microsoft themselves, but in fact, there is a Microsoft Azure Site Recovery suite installed on the hosts, and at least some of the vulnerabilities were found in it. Let's see, for example, elevation of privilege in Azure Site Recovery CVE 2022-33-675. The vulnerability was discovered and reported to Microsoft by Tenable researcher Jimmy Sebree. The Microsoft Azure Site Recovery suite contains a DLL hijacking flaw that allows for privilege escalation from any low-privileged user to system. Incorrect permissions on the service's executable directory, eProgram file, x86, Microsoft Azure Site Recovery Home, SV Systems Transport, allow new files to be created by any user. The service launched from the directory runs automatically and with system privileges and attempts to load several DLLs from this directory. This allows for a DLL hijacking planting attack with several libraries that are attempted to be loaded from this location when the service is launched. Existing deployments should ensure that the Microsoft-supplied patches have been appropriately applied. The full Vulristics report is available in the blog post. And that's it for today. Please subscribe and leave your comments. Bye!